Hey, look, it's Space Engineers. I've got a lot to say about batteries in Space Engineers. I'm not getting back into Space Engineers, but every couple of days I receive a request to fix Freya. Freya is my battery management tool. Now, when I initially created Freya, she was there specifically to turn on batteries when you have extra power consumption. For example, if you turn on your engines or your factories or whatever, Freya would say, okay, well, you obviously need some battery backup power. The problem is that most people want to use the new day-night cycle, and that's newer than Freya is. Freya didn't even realize that could exist. So what the idea now is you want to charge your batteries during the day and discharge them at night. That's a really obvious, incredibly obvious thing that you would want to do. So I tried a couple of approaches, and there are some serious problems with how batteries work in Space Engineers. First things first, if your battery is set to discharge, your station or ship will draw from your battery before it draws from your solar. Why? That makes no sense. But what that means is that if you have a battery that is capable of meeting the needs of your station, then you will never, ever, ever have solar power input. Even if your solar power is capable of powering your entire station, even if your solar power goes on for acres and the sun is shining brightly, it will draw from your batteries first. So you can't just let your batteries be on discharge idling, because they're never going to idle. They're always going to get drawn from. They're always going to get pulled. And that means that your batteries are actually going to work against your solar power. Now, this is true of my install. Maybe it's just this version or something, but it doesn't make any sense, and it means that you actually have to turn your batteries off or turn them to charge during the day. That's no big deal. As you can see, Freya detects day just fine, but the issue here is the battery input is extremely high. They have radically increased the power of the battery, and that means that when you're trying to charge a battery, it takes a lot of juice in at once. There's some kind of reactive thing going on where it tries very hard to limit the amount of input it takes, but it's programmed poorly, and the end result is that during the day, if you turn your batteries to charge, if you turn all of them to charge, just turn all of them off and turn one of them to charge, your station will black out. The battery will eat all of the solar power energy, and the rest of your station will get nothing. It'll just be blackout mode all the time. Now, that's obviously not ideal. It does charge your power during the day, but it means that the rest of your station doesn't work during the day, and you can only use your station at night, which is probably not what you want either. Now, if you have a reactor, the reactor can turn on and pick up the slack. Similarly, if you have a battery set to discharge and a battery set to recharge, then the battery set to discharge will pick up the slack, and it'll make sure that your power doesn't go out entirely. The battery will then scale back the amount of input that it wants, but it won't ever scale it back far enough. Let me explain. Here you can see I've got one battery charging the other 5. I've got one battery set to discharge and the other 5 set to recharge. And that discharging battery is outputting at 100%. My panels are also being drawn from at pretty close to their max rate. This is because the batteries are adapting nicely. They are adjusting their input level to match the maximum output level, and they're leaving my station online. Great, perfect. This would be ideal. I mean, after all, I am storing 100% of my panel power, and my batteries are just cycling through, so who cares, right? Batteries have a 20% power tax. Any battery that gets charged, 20% of that power is lost. So that battery that's at 100% output, 20% of that power is being lost forever. So just to show you, that means that the batteries, here we are, max output 12 megawatts. So it's at 12 megawatts. It's piping out at 12 megawatts to the other batteries, and that means that about 3 megawatts are being lost forever. Now, if we look at our solar power, our solar panels output 100 kilowatts. So we are gaining 8 times 100, 800 kilowatts, but we're losing 3 megawatts. So in order for this approach to work, you need to have a vast field of solar panels. Lots and lots of solar panels. Just acres of solar panels. Because you need to have your solar panels provide more than 20% of a battery's maximum output. So that means you need at least 3 megawatts of solar panels. And that's quite an installation. So, that's rough. You can also use a reactor. That works a little bit better, but the problem with that is that the uranium is lost. So if you are going to be burning 4 or 5 units of uranium to power your batteries all day, you're only going to get 4 units of uranium as stored power. The other unit is lost due to the tax, a 20% tax. So basically, if you're trying to use batteries, you are screwed because you can't get enough power from the solar to charge them. Your station will black out if you try. And if you try and supplement the solar with something else, you're going to burn through a vast amount of power. So when I started this day, I was at 86% charge. The day is 20 minutes long, and I am now at 84% charge. My base doesn't really use any power. It's just the batteries. So that 2% loss is just the battery charging itself over the course of my day. So I am, in the past 10 minutes, I have lost 1% of my battery charge just due to charging my batteries off of my other batteries. That's why I can't make a new version of Freya. The only way to do it would be to tell people that they need at least 3 megawatts of solar power available. Ludicrous. So I'm not going to be creating a new version of Freya until they fix the battery priority. Once the battery priority is fixed, everything is better. If the batteries drain after solar power, no problem. If the batteries charge after the rest of the station draws its power, no problem. That's what the batteries should do. Everything else uses power, and then the leftovers go to the batteries. Why would the batteries have a higher priority than your factory? That makes no... Anyway, that's the problem, and I hope you understand it a little bit. I don't have anything against Space Engineers. I think that it's a fine game, but I played a lot of it, and this one particular thing that people keep asking me to fix, I can't fix. So have a nice day, and I'll see you sometime later.